We thought we were different, untouchable, unbreakable. We were just kids from a small town. Dirt roads, rusted fences, broken dreams hanging heavy in the air. But when we were together, none of that mattered. We didn't have much. Old bikes, hand-me-down sneakers, pockets full of nothing. But we had each other, and dreams bigger than any of the streets we grew up on. We dreamed of escaping, of making it, of standing at the top of the world, shoulder to shoulder, and laughing at everyone who said we wouldn't. We trained together under the blistering sun, worked dead-end jobs just to save a few crumpled dollars, talked late into the night about the future, our future, where no one could tell us we weren't good enough. Back then, loyalty wasn't a question. It was a fact, a bond forged in blood, sweat, and blind belief. I trusted them more than I trusted myself. They weren't just friends. They were brothers. I would have taken a bullet for any one of them without thinking twice. And maybe that's why it hurt so much when they pulled the trigger first. We started small. Weekend tournaments, pickup games, underground fights where the prize money barely covered gas home. But every win felt like a mountain moved. Every small victory was proof. We were getting closer. We didn't have trainers or managers. No agents. No sponsors. Just raw ambition and stubborn hearts. The kind you only build when you have nothing else to lose. We split every dollar we made. Every meal. Every bruise. If one of us fell short on rent, the others picked up the slack. If one of us lost a fight, the others trained harder. It wasn't about who was better. It was about all of us winning. Together, we started making noise. Locals knew our names. Promoters started showing up at our fights, nodding with interest. Small gigs turned into small contracts. Small contracts turned into real money. Not much, but enough to start believing this crazy dream might actually be possible. At night, we'd sit under the flickering neon signs of the only diner that stayed open late, planning the future over greasy burgers and cold fries. One day, we said, we'll leave this place behind. One day, we'll have our own gym, our own team. One day, they'll know our names in every city in the country. We promised each other, no matter what happens, no matter how big we get, we stick together. We were brothers. We were family. At least, that's what I thought. Success is a strange thing. At first, it feels like the answer to every prayer you've ever screamed into the dark. Like sunlight breaking through a storm that lasted too long. But success also has a voice. And if you listen close enough, you realize it doesn't whisper. It hisses, tempts, it divides. Started small. Bigger fight offers came in. Bigger paydays. Real money. The kind you can feel when you shove it in your pocket. Thick, heavy, undeniable. Suddenly, we weren't just the scrappy kids from nowhere. We were potential investments, golden tickets. People who had ignored us before now shook our hands with two wide smiles. They slid contracts across tables, offered promises bigger than anything we had ever dared to dream. And with those promises came choices, hard choices, choices that made cracks in the foundation we had built. I saw it happening, saw the glances exchanged when they thought I wasn't looking, heard the whispered conversations that stopped when I walked into the room, felt the shift, the invisible weight pulling us apart, inch by inch. It wasn't about loyalty anymore. It wasn't about dreams. It was about numbers, percentages, payouts. One night, after a fight we should have celebrated together, they stayed behind at the after-party while I went home to rest. That was the night everything changed. While I was laying awake, replaying every round in my head, they were making plans. Plans that didn't include me. Plans they would never have made if they remembered who we used to be. Or maybe they always knew this was coming. And I was the fool who believed loyalty could survive the smell of real money. The next morning, everything felt the same. But it wasn't. And deep down, some part of me already knew the real fight wasn't going to happen in the ring. It was coming from the people I called brothers. And I wasn't ready for it. The day it happened started like any other. I woke up early, hit the gym, hit the bag until my knuckles burned, told myself, this is it. The moment everything changes. We had a meeting lined up. A major deal. The kind of opportunity we had dreamed about back when we were kids with scraped knees and empty pockets. All of us were supposed to be there. All of us were supposed to sign together. I showed up at the venue early. Pressed shirt. Worn out sneakers. Nervous but proud. I waited and waited and waited. Hours passed. Phone calls went unanswered. Texts left on read. That sinking feeling in my gut, the one I tried to silence, grew louder with every tick of the clock. Finally, the receptionist at the front desk gave me a look I'll never forget. Pity. Real pity. She told me they had already come. Hours earlier. Signed without me. Made the deal without me. Left me off the paperwork entirely. The company, the name we had built together, was no longer mine. It was theirs, and they hadn't even bothered to tell me. I stood there in that empty lobby, staring at nothing, feeling everything. Betrayal doesn't feel like an explosion. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's a quiet, sharp cut. Precise. Final. I drove home that night without turning on the radio. Without thinking. Without breathing. Every memory we shared played in my mind like a cruel movie. The laughs. The promises. The dreams. All lies. They didn't just take a deal. They took the years we spent building something from nothing. They took my trust. My belief in something bigger than myself. And in that moment, somewhere between the disbelief and the heartbreak, I realized something even colder. They never saw me as a brother, only as a stepping stone. I was useful until I wasn't. And now, I was just another casualty on their road to whatever cheap version of success they thought they had found. I thought the hardest fights were in the ring. I thought pain came from broken bones and bruised ribs. I was wrong. The hardest fight was learning how to stand when the people you loved most are the ones who knocked you down. Rock bottom doesn't feel like a crash. It feels like a slow, quiet sinking, like standing in quicksand, watching the world move on without you. The days after the betrayal blurred together. No calls, no fights, no apologies, just silence. I stayed inside for days, curtains drawn, phone off, food untouched. The dreams we once built together now felt like ashes in my hands. Nothing tasted right, nothing sounded right. It felt like the world had closed its doors, and I was the only one left outside. I replayed it all in my head, over and over. Where did I go wrong? How did I not see it coming? The truth burned deeper every time. I had trusted the wrong people. I had built my future on a foundation that was never real. And now, I had nothing. No money, no team, no plan, just anger and pain, and a hollow space where loyalty used to live. There were nights I sat on the floor, staring at the cracked ceiling, wondering if it was even worth trying anymore. Wondering if they were right to leave me behind. Wondering if maybe I really was the weak link all along. But somewhere, deep inside that darkness, a spark refused to die. The same stubborn fire that had carried me through every punch, every loss, every sleepless night as a kid. It whispered to me, get up. One more round. One more step. One more breath. I didn't get up with some great speech or sudden epiphany. I didn't have a grand plan. I just stood, broken, alone, but standing. And in that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. If I was going to rebuild my life, it wouldn't be with fake friends or false promises. It would be with my own hands, my own blood, my own will. No shortcuts, no easy outs. I would climb out of this hole, one brutal inch at a time, not for revenge. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to myself that I was never the weak one. I was the strong one all along. They just never stayed long enough to see it. Building something from nothing isn't glamorous. It's not Instagram worthy. It's not applause and spotlight. It's early mornings when it's still dark outside. It's late nights when your hands shake from exhaustion. It's rejection after rejection, and the quiet decision to keep going anyway. I started at the bottom, worse than the bottom. Nobody wanted to work with me. Nobody returned my calls. The people who used to shake my hand now crossed the street when they saw me coming. Good. I didn't need their approval. I needed my own. I picked up every job I could find. Loading docks, cleaning gyms, delivering food in the rain for tips barely worth the gas it took to get there. I trained by myself. No team, no cheers, no promises. Just an empty gym, a heavy bag, and a will that refused to break. I studied at night. Read everything I could about business, about branding, about building something real. Something they couldn't steal this time. One step at a time. No shortcuts. No handouts. Some nights, I'd fall into bed so tired I couldn't remember my own name. But every morning I got up. And every day, I moved 1 inch closer to the life they said I would never have. There were no big moments. No overnight success. Just 1,000 tiny wins stacked on top of 1,000 brutal failures. And somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, I stopped thinking about them. The ones who left. The ones who betrayed me. They weren't my story anymore. And with every callus on my hands, every scar on my heart, I was building something stronger than any deal they could sign. I was building a life they couldn't touch. A life they couldn't take. A life that didn't need anyone's permission to exist. Because real success isn't what you build when the world loves you. Real success is what you build when the world forgets you. And you choose to build anyway. Success didn't come with fireworks. It didn't come with a trophy or a headline. It came quietly, in the form of keys to my first business. In the handshake from clients who respected my work, not my name. In the nights when I slept peacefully, knowing I owed nothing to anyone but myself. Years later, standing on the rooftop of a building I built with my own hands, I thought about them, the ones who left, the ones who betrayed, the ones who said I wouldn't make it without them. Funny thing is, I didn't feel anger, I didn't feel hate, I felt free. Because real freedom isn't proving them wrong. It's realizing you don't need to prove anything at all. They stayed trapped in the same small games. The same small dreams, while I kept moving forward. And when some of them came back, calling, texting, pretending the past never happened, I didn't slam the door in their faces. I didn't scream. I didn't seek revenge. I just smiled, wished them well, and kept walking. Because the life I had built wasn't about them. It was about the kid I used to be, the one who refused to stay broken. It was about the man I chose to become. Not for applause, not for validation, but for me. And standing there, with the sun setting behind me and the city sprawling at my feet, I realized the truth. The best revenge isn't making them regret losing you. The best revenge is never needing them in the first place. I didn't just survive their betrayal. I turned it into the reason I thrived. And now I stand alone. Not because I was abandoned, but because I rose higher than they ever dreamed I could. And I'm just getting started.